Hello everyone, this is Krotic giving you a shoutcast between SRS Razor Nani against Socke. Yeah, I had to ask a German friend how to pronounce his name. He says that the E is a hard E and the S is more closer to an English Z. So it's Socke versus Nani here on Metalopolis. We have Socke spawning as the Socke spawned at the 6 o'clock position as the light blue or teal Protoss player. Meanwhile, Nani spawned over here at the 8 o'clock position as the pink Protoss player. So this is going to be a battle of the light pastel colors here on Metalopolis. Nani quickly throwing down that pylon. Both sides going to go ahead and pull up the production tab, and both sides pretty much doing the same exact thing and now scouting out in almost a mirrored like state. Even their pylons are positioned in relatively the same position. So Nani and Socke spawning and doing necessarily the same thing. Now gonna go ahead and just take a look. Both players just continuing to train more and more probes. Now here on Metalopolis, I believe this one Xel'Naga watchtower will become very important. This is what I call the close Xel'Naga watchtower, just because this most likely will be the main road that both of these players try to use. Both probes quickly coming across each other, and then both realizing that the same scouting pattern. Oh no, they're just gonna go ahead and just pass each other, and it looks exactly like a mirror match once again, as these probes quickly gonna be able to find. And now one pink probe going to be in the light blue or teal base, meanwhile one teal probe going to be in that pink base, and now finally a gateway being placed down by Nani and Socke finally differing up the location of their buildings, at least, as both players also getting pylons. So this production tab just constantly being mirrored between these two locations. We do have an assimilator down for Socke as well as Nani. Both sides fully saturating that assimilator as quickly as it goes up. And now a cybernetics core coming down for Nani. Meanwhile, the same exact thing coming in for Socke. So Socke and Nani doing the same push and doing the same build so far. So it's all going to come down to execution rather than strategy at this point. Unless one of these players tries to go for a 2-gate with the robotics facility, while the other goes for, some sort of 4-gate play, or perhaps a void ray play. Back in this space, we now see a probe almost getting through these shields on this pylon. One zealot now being trained, and now Peppy trying to attack his pretty and teal brother over here, as this probe continuing to wander around. Pretty in pink Peppy the probe still wandering around as well. Socke does have a second assimilator up, however not saturating it yet. Spoke too soon. 3 probes quickly getting in there, and now Socke throwing down a pylon here. Both sides throwing down a pylon in these events in the back area at the same time. Will we see any Stargate is the key question. Stargates will be very powerful on this map just because of the close flying distance between these two locations. However, production wise, we do finally see a sentry versus a stalker, so a little bit of a change so far. And now a gateway, so Socke throwing down a gateway, and now a robotics facility. So it's going to be a gateway and a robotics facility versus so far what looks to be a 2-gate. And then as soon as we see what that next building is, we should have a definitive strategy. Warp gate research nearing completion for Nani. Socke chrono boosting that warp gate, so we'll be able to warp gate research, so we'll be able to get that out perhaps a little bit faster. One sentry and one zealot. Army wise, both sides sitting on a very small army, and now Socke continuing to throw down pylons. Production wise, we do see more gateways being thrown down, so currently it's a 3 gateway versus a 2 gateway and 1 robotics facility. As soon as this robotics facility completes, most likely we will see perhaps an observer coming out and head into the base of Nani. Nani will be fighting a little bit more in the dark, unless Nani is I do not think he's researching hallucination. Last time I checked, not researching hallucination, will not be able to hallucinate any phoenixes to get scouting information. And now finally, we have Socke changing things up a little and going for a Stargate here. We do have a second pylon being placed down here, so it's going to be a 3-gate with the robotics facility versus a 2-gate with a robotics facility training up immortals, and now perhaps a Stargate training up phoenixes or void rays. Both of them are going to be very, very strong counters. The phoenixes are able to pick up immortals and then neutralize them for quite some time, giving the sentries and stalkers time to shoot them out of the sky. Also, void rays are able to deal a lot of damage once they are fully charged. Army wise, we see 650 versus 600 and both sides pretty much the same exact army. 4 zealots versus 3, 1 immortal versus 2 stalkers, 2 sentries versus 1. We now have Nani continuing to gain sight and quickly getting shot down by 2 sentries and an immortal there. No one really trying to expand at this stage. Both just trying to recline into that one base play, trying to macro up as large of an army as possible. Both sides, a little bit of a perfect timing there. Nani moving out with his observer in order to scout out his opponent, but quickly comes across the observer of Socke. So Socke ends up losing his observer. There is one Phoenix here, and now a second Phoenix currently being chrono boosted as well. This observer may not try to come into this position to see if there is a Stargate, because this is pretty standard. 2 warp gates and a robotics facility. This one Stargate will be a little bit of a weird positioning as these Phoenixes now move out and perhaps are going to start graviton beaming units. We do have a warp prism though, so that warp prism may get shot down. Now doing that moon walk or that Phoenix walk against that prism down to 20 hit points, and down it goes. Sentries now getting trying to get in on that fight. One Phoenix down to 92 hit points after losing some damage through those shields. However, taking down that early warp prism was absolutely critical. However, Nani now going into 3-gate robotics facility and now training up Colossi. So Colossi joining in on this fight in order to push out. We do have three Phoenixes now moving out, and those 3 Phoenixes will be able to pick up probes and then essentially one-shot them. So down goes a probe, down goes another probe, and now one more probe. Well, no, not even trying to pick up any of those sentries. I think picking up a sentry would be a rather smart move. Sentries only have 80 hit points, and those Phoenixes deal 20 damage per attack against those light units. However, now with 3 Phoenixes, perhaps if we get a 4th one, he will be able to just graviton beam and pick up a sentry and shoot it out of the sky in just a moment. One probe over here by Socke. We do have a proxy pylon by Socke over here as one observer sitting in this position. There is no additional observers being trained up yet. Nani now throwing down a Nexus. So there's going to be a small window of opportunity for Socke to try to push out with superior numbers as Nani continues to just push up a stronger and stronger economy. You can see Socke sitting at a 2250 versus a 1950. However, Nani now getting more and more stalkers is getting a larger army as well. This last Phoenix will be completed in just a moment. Phoenixes, however, are not a decent counter towards Colossi. Even I know in a one-on-one fight the Phoenix would definitely win, but these Phoenixes do not deal enough damage fast enough to take them down effectively. However, with 5 Phoenixes, that may be enough if there's no other targets to try to deal with. So probes now being moved over. Stalkers sitting in this position here. There are 5 Phoenixes here. Those 5 Phoenixes will be able to graviton beam a 1 sentry and then shoot it out of the sky, since it will be served up on a graviton platter very easily. There are a lot of stalkers here though. So there are currently 8 stalkers to deal with the 5 Phoenixes that are so far, and now observer doing a little bit of an observer chase, and down it goes. So Socke getting some revenge on that observer there as these Phoenixes now move out. Army wise, 2450 versus 2900. Nani is still playing very defensively so far, not trying to push out too much, not getting photon cannons in order to deal with these Phoenixes, as these Phoenixes with their high mobility are essentially playing as though a Zerg player would play Mutalisk. So one graviton beam, there we go. 3 probes quickly getting taken down. Stalkers now trying to make their way over, and now these Phoenixes perhaps going to try to position over here, but one photon cannon able to deal significant damage to air and ground with a fairly fast attack speed, 1.25. However, missile turrets do deal more damage. I'll talk about that in a Q&A session a little bit later. We do have more Immortals now being trained. Economy 1000 for Socke versus 900 for Nani, as now an additional Phoenix getting joined in on this fight. So mass Phoenixes, and with mass Phoenixes, he will be able to graviton beam a lot of units. Now, I would say that that would be a smart call if Nani was investing heavily into Immortals. However, if Phoenixes are not able to graviton beam massive units, I do not believe. Yeah, massive units are immune to that. And now there's so many Stalkers that it's not going to really matter. Stalkers do not have Blink, so without Blink, very nicely done, getting in some more damage on one of those Colossi. One of those 3 Colossi here as these units now move out. Weapons, level 1 weapons upgrade nearing completion for Socke, so Socke will have effectively a stronger army very, very easily. More stalkers now being warped in over here onto this low ground, and Nani trying to make something happen. However, I think he should have just, well, he needs to actually push out at this stage in the game. However, without any sort of a significant anti-air to deal with those Phoenixes are going to be able to give a run for the money. We do have one observer sitting here. These extended thermal lance range on these Colossi, able to deal a lot of damage from a very, very safe distance, a range of 9. And now this warp gate will get taken down with little to no issue. And now Nani pushing out. However, we do see some zealots and now immortals coming in. Socke moving out with this here. Graviton beaming a lot of those key sentries. So sentries now picked up out of the sky. Phoenix is trying to deal damage to them, and those sentries unable to drop any force fields. So very, very critical play. Those force fields would have stopped any of those immortals from trying to push through, and now more force fields coming in from the back. We now have mass immortals dealing with mass stalkers and colossi, so these immortals able to deal a lot of damage towards these heavily armored units. More zealots now joining in on this fight as well. Stalkers, zealots trying to engage. 4 immortals versus 2 colossi and 3 stalkers. However, the stalkers do not have blink, so they will not be able to deal that much damage, able to focus down one of those immortals, able to move faster at 2.95 versus 2.25. Zealots now coming in for Socke, so Socke, however, losing a lot of those zealots due to that colossi extended thermal lance range. More zealots warped in here. Army-wise, we see that Nani sitting on a 1475, and as soon as all of those stalkers were taken down, all of those phoenixes were taken down, Socke's army is now significantly weaker. Production-wise, we now see a void ray coming in from Socke. So Socke with a void ray now trying to fully charge up on this assimilator, may be able to deal damage onto these colossi. These colossi have to be careful now, trying to pull back, and now this void ray unable to maintain that charge. So a void ray with a fully charged prismatic core able to deal 25 damage, and it has an attack speed of 0.6. So I believe someone told me that was 48 damage a second, or every game second. Army-wise, 2925 versus 1650. The Stalkers did a smart move there by taking down that statue, making it very difficult for the Void Rays to fully charge up. And now, once again, continuing to push out. Socke, however, in trouble. Zealots taking needless damage. Immortals and this Void Ray unable to get that necessary charge continually. We do see Socke now trying to get more and more units out, and perhaps all of these, no, these gateways are not on cooldown. Don't know why he's not trying to warp in more units. We do have one Archon in position, but that Archon is not going to be a very, very strong counter either. Socke needs to deal damage with these Void Rays. However, Stalkers are going to be able to shoot them down out of the sky. One Void Ray already taken down by the massive number of Stalkers. 11 Stalkers able to two-shot one Void Ray, and down goes another. And Socke will be forced to say GG versus SRS Razor Nani, as the Stalkers now able to just continue to mass up, mass Stalkers, mass Colossi. A very, very critical play. However, I think Socke's mistake in that whole entire engagement was trying to come in and trying to pick up those sentries. By picking up those sentries, he revealed himself too much towards those Stalkers. Stalkers only deal 10 damage and attack to a Phoenix, and Phoenixes do have a lot of hit points and shields at a total combined total of 180. However, because he just picked up those sentries could have been quickly shot down. I think if he had neutralized those Stalkers instead, pick them up, and then engage with those units that you had. And those Stalkers, they would just be hovering in the air for 10 game seconds, and now those Colossi either have to retreat, and if they retreat, they would leave their Stalkers to die, or stick around with half of their army in the air. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this 1v1 replay between Socke and SRS Razor Nani here on Metalopolis.